Few foods have completed a full public reputation cycle as rapidly as coconut oil. In the 1980s and 1990s, it was cast as a villain and artery-clogging saturated fat used in movie theater popcorn and condemned by cardiologists. By the early 2010s, it had been reborn as a wellness miracle, with advocates claiming it boosted metabolism, cured Alzheimer's, and reversed the damage done by decades of processed food consumption. U.S. sales climbed from $88 million in 2012 to $534 million by 2020. Then in 2017, the American Heart Association issued an advisory that brought the scientific and marketing communities into direct collision, classifying coconut oil as a food that raises LDL cholesterol and should be limited. Just like butter and beef fat, the chemistry behind this advisory is not difficult to understand. Coconut oil is approximately 82% saturated fat, higher than butter at 63% and considerably higher than olive oil at 14%. Saturated fat's relationship with LDL cholesterol is among the most replicated findings in cardiovascular nutrition research. Multiple randomized controlled trials comparing coconut oil to unsaturated fat alternatives have found statistically significant LDL elevation in the coconut oil groups. The AHA's position was not alarmist, it was a straightforward reading of a consistent body of evidence. The counterargument that coconut oil advocates deploy centers on medium-chain triglycerides, commonly known as MCTs. These fatty acids are metabolized differently from longer-chain saturated fats, absorbed more rapidly and directed to the liver for energy production rather than stored in adipose tissue. The claim is that coconut oil's MCT content makes it metabolically distinct from other saturated fats. The problem is one of proportion. Only about 13 to 15% of coconut oil is composed of the MCTs most associated with metabolic benefits, specifically caprylic acid and capric acid. The majority of coconut oil's saturated fat is lauric acid, which occupies an ambiguous biochemical category. It does raise HDL alongside LDL, which some researchers argue produces a neutral or even favorable net cardiovascular effect. Others classify lauric acid as a long-chain fatty acid that behaves much like other saturated fats. This debate has not been resolved to the satisfaction of lipid researchers who hold strict cardiovascular risk standards. What is clear is that the MCT supplement market, which has exploded alongside the coconut oil trend, is selling concentrated caprylic and capric acid precisely because they want to distance their products from the lauric acid-heavy profile of whole coconut oil. That market distinction tells you something about the internal inconsistencies of the coconut oil health narrative. The environmental picture adds another layer of complexity. Coconut palm plantations have been linked to deforestation and habitat destruction in Southeast Asia, particularly in the Philippines and Indonesia. Labor conditions in coconut harvesting have also been scrutinized, with some supply chains involving exploitative practices. When coconut oil is framed as a natural, traditional food, as wellness marketing often does, this framing rarely extends to honest examination of where and how it arrives in a glass jar on a Brooklyn countertop. Compared to butter from a nearby dairy farm or olive oil from regional Mediterranean producers, the carbon footprint and supply chain complexity of imported coconut oil are rarely part of the consumer conversation, but arguably should be.